Welcome, collectors and Matchbox fans. Thank you for joining me for another edition of Diecast Emporium. In today's video, we're going to be checking out Mbx 2 for 2022 of the Matchbox Basic range. I picked this case up from my friends at jcardiecast.com. There will be a link in this video's description right about here. So, if you need one of these in your life, be sure to click on that link and it'll take you straight to the website where you can buy one of these. Now, I have not done prior research like I typically do. There's been a lot of things going on over here. I just haven't had the time. So I don't know everything that's in this case. I do know that there are a couple of models that I have been looking forward to, but as far as knowing every specific vehicle, that I'm not sure of. So I am looking forward to going through this together in real time with you and experiencing the excitement of what this case has inside. So let's go ahead and get started. In case you are wondering, B case, Mbx 2, let's get it open. The two that I know that should be in here that I am looking forward to is the Shell Ford C-Series tractor, the truck, and then the National Parks livery Backhoe, the construction vehicle. So those are two in particular that I am very much looking forward to. All right, we have it open. There's a little spacer piece inside here. We'll take that out. Here is the top-down view. We can see that there are some duplicates. Actually, looks like there's quite a number of duplicates. There's the Backhoe. There's two of those, two green cars, two blue vehicles here, whatever those are, two blue vehicles here, and then two red vehicles. So again, quite a number of duplicates in here. Let's just get started. First one's out of the case. We have the Porsche 911 Carrera Cabriolet. So there is the card art. Again, if you've never joined me for one of these Matchbox case reviews, the way I like to do things is during the first half of this video, we're going to take a look at each and every one of these on the card or in the package. I know there's a lot of interest in people that like to see the card art and what it looks like. And then in the second half of this video, we're going to open up one of each of these on the spin table so you can take a closer look at the castings. So this is number 20, what is this, 27? Yeah, 27 out of 100. You have the Porsche logo at the top left of the card, and it has some trees on the back denoting what series this is supposed to be in. Again, there are two of those. Next, again, we have one I was looking forward to, so it's nice to see there are two of these. This is the Mbx or Matchbox Backhoe. In the reoccurring National Parks livery, I anticipate this will be very popular, which is probably the first time that this casting will ever be highly sought after. In my opinion, it's one of my favorites, but I understand that not many Matchbox collectors care very much about the fantasy construction vehicles. I bet they will change their mind because, if nothing else, it's in the National Parks livery. And this is Mbx Matchbox number 29 of 100. So 27 and 29 so far. Next, we have the 07 Honda Ridgeline in orange. Again, another very popular casting that's been around as far back as I can remember, even when I was little and in grade school. Up next, 24 out of 100, the Mbx Garbage Scout. I think this is the third or fourth recolor we have seen for this. Has a working part in that the dumpster is detachable. We will take a look at that when we open it. All right, down to the second layer. Ooh, here's going to be a very popular one. 2016 Toyota Tacoma in the TRD livery. I think that camper does come off the top. And then at the top left corner of your screen, you can't really see it that well, but up here this reads Toyota officially licensed product. I don't remember seeing any of that on Hot Wheels or Matchbox cards before, so maybe that is something new. Just adds a little bit of collector value and authenticity to the product, so I quite like that a lot. All right, next up, we have two Mbx mini cargo trucks. This is another reoccurring livery in the Matchbox line that people like to collect, and this is my favorite line to collect, the INC Construction or Inc. Construction. This mini cargo truck, I said this before when I was doing a different video previewing this. This absolutely makes 0 sense to have this vehicle in INC construction livery. This cargo truck is something you'd see around an airport, and you would never see it around a construction site, but it is what it is. and it's number 23 of 100. Again, 2 of these, at least in my case. All right, one for the hypercar fans, 31 out of 100. The Porsche 918 Spyder. This thing looks amazing in gray with gold wheels. Looking forward to open that up. Again, the Porsche name at the top left corner of the card. Looks like there's only one of those in here. All right, number 33 of 100, the 1960 Chevy El Camino, a very popular casting that people like to collect. Chevy logo, top left corner of your screen. Quite like the card art on this as well. Looks pretty darn good. There's the back of it. The pickup truck version of the back has the cream color. Nice little truck. Again, you've heard me say this a million times. I'm not a huge Chevrolet fan or a GM fan, but this casting looks quite good. There's the front in chrome with no markings for headlights. But on the back, you do have some taillights painted in red. All right. This is the Bentley Bentega, number 82 out of 100 in red. This is a sharp-looking crossover SUV. Top left corner has the Bentley officially licensed product logo. Really nice to see that. And then, of course, on the back, here is the barcode for those of you that might need that. All right, let's keep going. Here's another taco, your Toyota Tacoma. So that's a double of that. Next up, we have the Land Rover Defender 90. This is I believe this is the new one, right? Does it say the year? Yeah, 2020. So there's 2 of those in a sky blue with a black top on it. Not a huge fan of this car in real life. I just don't like the way it looks, and they ask an incredible amount of money for this small Land Rover. Just not a big fan of it. Anyway, Land Rover at the top, and over here at the top right, it says Matchbox Adventure World Tour. Not sure what the significance is with this. Don't know if they have a partnership with Land Rover. Maybe somebody can let me know down in the comments section below, but there are 2 of those in the case. Next vehicle is, ooh, this is nice. This is number 20 out of 100, the 2020 Corvette C8. Again, not a huge Chevy fan, but this one will be very popular among the collector community. I don't believe this is the first release for this. In fact, I know it isn't, because it was the equivalent of a Hot Wheels treasure hunt in the Matchbox line last year, right? This was the treasure hunt for Matchbox last year. This time it is all in black. Looks quite good. We'll take a closer look at it here in just a minute. Boy, I'll tell you what, the Japanese, the JDM theme is very, very strong in this case. Here is a 1994 Lexus Ls400. This car looks great. The card art looks great. Neighbor of mine actually has a black one of these. I think it's a 94, might be a 95. Might have to give him one of these just because. So looking forward to opening this one up. I can't imagine this would not be, again, one of the more sought-after pieces in this B case for 2022. Along with this one, we just keep going. There's amazing casting after amazing casting. Number 25 of 100, the 76 Volkswagen Golf Mk1. Boy, that looks good. Again, Volkswagen officially licensed product at the top left. I love that they're doing that. All right, and here it is. Here's the other one I personally was looking forward to. This is the 1965 Ford C900, so this is the C-Series tractor. It does have a hole for where the 5th wheel should be, so we'll try a couple kingpins on some trailers by Matchbox here, if I remember, when we open this up and see if it actually works. And the Ford logo, top left. And obviously this is in the Shell gasoline livery. I like those red wheels, so it looks pretty good. Okay, moving on. We have the 2016 Alfa Romeo Giulia. I believe this is the 3rd or 4th time. We saw it in red, then white, maybe black, and now we have it in blue. I think it probably looks best in blue, even though red is Alfa's color. This is number 26 of 100. Seems like we're knocking out a lot of the vehicles in the 20s. All right. Next up, we have another casting favorite, and another one that there are 2 of in this case. much to collectors. Honestly, I think most collectors will be happy about this. 76 Honda CVCC. I think this is the third color for this. It was in mustard yellow, then white. Now we have it in red. This car looks good. One of my favorite hatchbacks that Matchbox has ever done. If I didn't mention it, this is 21 out of 100. And surprisingly, there's no official Honda logo at the top left of the card. It just says 76 Honda CVCC, so that's interesting. I would have expected an H for the Honda logo. And the last two out of the box for you pre-war car fans, there are two 1934 Chevrolet Master Coupes or Coupe in black. I'm sorry, black fender wells with a blue car. Yes, yes, yes. Big fan of this one. I love cars from that era, and it's nice to see. I think this is a new casting for this year, for sure. So there you go, collectors. That is the B case for Matchbox Basics for 2022. What we're going to do now is take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to open up one of each of these so you can take a closer look at them. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back after this short break. All right, everyone, welcome back. Allow me just a moment here to get focused up so we can get a closer look at each of these. We are going to start off with the Matchbox INC, the mini cargo truck. As I said, I was really disappointed to see that this vehicle was done in the INC livery. And the reason that I'm disappointed with it is because there are so many Matchbox castings, whether they be trucks or construction vehicles, that could have done with an INC livery treatment before this, but it is what it is. There are two variations. While both of mine that came in the case from J-Car Diecast were of the nothing in the back variety, I did find on the pegs the other variation, which does have stuff in the back. So there are two variations, as there usually are whenever this casting is released. So that's the mini cargo truck. Figured I'd start off with that, get that out of the way. Honestly, again, it bears repeating. If there was almost any other casting with the INC livery, we would not be starting out with it, because usually I like to go from what I dislike the most to my favorite at the end. All right, next up, let's check out the... Yeah, let's get it out of the way. So we're going to open up the 2020 Corvette C8 in black. Take a closer look at it. I think this was a good option for Matchbox to do this in black. The headlights in particular look absolutely amazing and sharp. You do have the Corvette logo right here. Wheels, very sharp. You do have some pearlescent in the metal flake in the paint. Tail lights, license plate, which reads C8 Vet, I believe. Let me verify. I believe that is a California license plate, but it's too hard to make out. And then obviously you have the casting in the back windshield of the engine. So quite a sharp looking car. I know it'll probably be a favorite of many, but again, it's neither here nor there for me. So while you're taking a look at that, let's move on to the next car. Let's open up the 1976 Volkswagen Golf Mk1. This is another one that the Golfs are the rabbits, GTIs. These things have a cult following. So you either kind of don't care for these cars or you're absolutely obsessed with them. This one has a copyright date of 2019, so I'm not sure what the revision was done on it. But we do have headlights, the Volkswagen logo, and GTI, along with a red line at the very bottom of the bumper. This is left-hand drive, so it is American spec, obviously. And you can barely see it in the windshield, no taillights, but in the rear windshield, there's actually a rear windshield wiper on the casting, which, again, looks pretty good. So that is the Volkswagen GTI. All right, how about a Porsche? The Porsche 918 Spyder. Again, one for the supercar fans. I believe this is a new casting for this year, a brand new casting. And it is. The base tells us that this is copyright 2021, which means that it is confirmed. This is a new casting for this year. And Matchbox did a great job. Headlights, Porsche logo that you can barely see, but it is right there. Left-hand drive, there's your engine that you can see in the back. I think for most of us, this is probably the closest we're ever going to come to owning a 918 Porsche. But yeah, it looks great. Porsche writing on the back, taillights as well. Quite a sharp-looking addition. And I think the choice of wheels, too, kind of mimic what the real one looks like. Obviously, the best that you could do for $1. So I think it looks quite decent. As we go through this, let me know what you guys think of each of these. Do you have a favorite vehicle and why? Which one of these are you going to be looking for in the wild? Or are you just picking up the entire case of J-Car Diecast so you don't have to hunt these down? Let me know what you're thinking. Okay. Let's change directions here for a moment. We're going to open the Mbx Garbage Scout. I believe this is the third version of this. And all of them have the dumpster that comes off. It is a plastic dumpster. And this is the truck. So the truck door reads, "Twinkle Rubbish, we haul the stink and the kitchen sink." So, okay. Basically, this would back into your dumpster here. Your forks would line up. Boom. And then it would take the garbage away. So it is a fantasy vehicle, but it is loosely based off of a recycling or a garbage truck. It would be nice to see this in kind of a white and green. So obviously you can see where I'm going with this. It would kind of mimic, a waste management livery or color. But yeah, it's not a bad truck. It really isn't. And I think for the young ones, they quite enjoy this one. Anything that has play value and isn't just a static model that rolls definitely is popular. But for us, the adult collector, one, it's not licensed, so the truck is not based on a Ford, a Chevy, a Dodge, etc. And two, it's just a generic vehicle. Okay, let's keep going. Let's go back to some JDMs for a little bit. This is the 07 Honda Ridgeline. It's really surprising to me that Matchbox hasn't done an updated Ridgeline. Again, we're going on, 15, 16 years since this casting first came out, first debuted. It does have a trailer hitch on the back, so you could put some of your hitch and haul trailers behind it. In the back here, I understand that's hard to see. Let's see if it'll focus, but there are some travel bags, looks like a chain, maybe a cooler. United States Matchbox Honda Ridgeline is what it says on the door. Not too convinced or sold on the bright orange color or the decals, honestly. Would have much rather had this in just a plain OEM Honda licensed color, but it is what it is. So that's the Ridgeline. Okay, let's stick with trucks for a little bit. How about the 2020 Land Rover Defender 90? I've already said my piece about this during the unboxing, but in case you are just joining us now, I'm not a huge fan of this Land Rover in the real world or this model. This is a smaller Land Rover. To me, it's not a Land Rover. It's like you're buying you're buying half the Land Rover for Land Rover prices. So not too sold on this. But for the Matchbox car, you do have lights. You do have decos on the front with Land Rover on the grill and above the grill written out. Tail lights as well, which look relatively decent. And that blue color, I do believe, is a factory color for it, although it probably would have looked better in the Land Rover green. But if I'm not mistaken, I think that this is the second release for this, and the first one might have been green. I don't know. It's hard to keep up on absolutely everything. So I guess blue would have been a decent second color. All right. Back to Hondas for a bit. The 76 Honda CVCC, a favorite of many JDM collectors and hatchback collectors. This car is just fun, and Matchbox did a great job with it. Headlights, taillights, license plate decals, or decos, if I want to be more precise. I do hate this mounting thing right in the back window. It really detracts from the look of it. But other than that, this is a great little car. Screams 70s, especially the first version, the one that was in mustard yellow. That was 100% a 70s car. But again, I think this is the third version. We saw mustard yellow, then white, and now this red one. But looks good. No complaints overall, and I think it'll be pretty popular. And thankfully, there are 2 of these, it appears, in the case, at least the case that I had. All right. Next up, we go back to Porsche for a bit. The 911 Carrera Cabriolet. I feel like this model has been out for decades. I think the original one came out in the 90s because I was still in elementary school. And then recently Matchbox re-released it with some updated tooling changes. But I had several of these when I was a kid and played with them. So it's kind of nice to see it return. Green paint looks good. You have Carrera on the back. You have taillights, which look good. The interior is plastic, obviously, as you would expect, but there's enough detail in there for it to be interesting. I love it when Matchbox adds mirrors. Some of these cars that don't have mirrors, I just question why, such as the Honda that you just saw. But it is nice to see, like you saw it on the other Porsche, for example, and the Corvette, and the Land Rover. It seems like more and more of the new castings that are coming out, Matchbox is tooling mirrors, which is something I was really, really adamant on a couple years ago. Obviously, I'm not taking credit for it. I'm sure they took my opinion for nothing, to be completely honest with you. All I'm trying to say is I'm just super happy that as a collector myself, that they've started implementing side view mirrors on a lot of their vehicles. That was certainly something that was missing. All right, let's stay with luxury for just a moment. We'll take a look at the Bentley Bentayga, Bentley's high-powered crossover SUV. This thing is pretty interesting in the real world. Again, not something I would ever look into buying, even if I had that kind of money. I believe this is a 2018... I believe the casting is based on a 2018 Bentley Bentayga model, and I think this has been out for a couple years. So I think this came out in like 2020, 2021, but the actual Bentley is based on a 2018 model. Grille detail, Bentley on the front license plate. Obviously, no interior because it's all black. You can't see anything inside, which is a bit disappointing. On the back, you have Bentley as well, and you can even see the exhaust and the headlights. So it's a red vehicle, but they did even add taillights to the back, which is really hard to do when you have a red car. So kudos to Matchbox. Looks really good. All right. 2016 Alfa Romeo Giulia. Another casting that we've seen a lot of recently. It can be argued we've probably seen this too much. But here it is, this time in a blue color. I think this was new for the 2020 model year. So there it is in blue. Taillights, headlights. The grille is just perfect on this. It really encapsulates and captures the front of the Alfa perfectly. It's really impressive what they can do with some of these models when they actually try. And this is a good example. So I like this one quite a lot. And the European-style rear license plate reads Giulia. And again, you have some casted-in detail for the back that includes your exhaust. So looks very good. Okay, so that leaves us with, I think, 5 left. Here is the Taco, the 2016 Toyota Tacoma. This one I like a lot. I had somewhere a few years ago when they did this in like a tan, and then this cover was green. And I wanted to bring it out and show you guys, and I probably spent 2 or 3 hours before this video trying to find it. But if you've ever been over here, you understand what kind of a challenge that can be. So, at any rate, I have the first version of this, and I love it, but God knows where it is. So it's nice that they brought this back. The cover is removable, so you can take that off if you're not big on the look of it. The paint scheme on this, most of you will know, but it is paying tribute and throwing it back to the Toyota Racing Development scheme. Anytime you see white, yellow, orange, and red on a Toyota vehicle, usually That is what they're paying homage to, and this truck is no different, particularly in the Baja off-road races days when Toyota was really killing it in the 80s and early 90s. So, big fan of this casting. Yes, it could have done with some headlights. It could have done with the Toyota logo in the grille, but at least it has taillights. We have BF Goodwrench above the fender, Tacoma right here on the door, and we do have Tacoma embossed in the tailgate, which again could have done with a little bit of paint, but it is what it is. Big fan of it. Speaking of Toyota vehicles, how about the 1994 Lexus Ls400? There's the Lexus. If Matchbox is going to do a recolor of this, I selfishly would really like to see this done in black with some gold trim, because that's what my neighbor has, and I think that that's probably the best looking Ls400 that Lexus ever did. And I also hope that this opens the door for more Lexus products to be done by Matchbox and Hot Wheels, particularly of everyday driving cars. That would certainly be great. As for this, taillights, headlights, interior detail, quite pleased with it. Again, not much to complain about. I think that this will be extremely popular and over time might become one of the more sought-after Matchbox cars from this year. Maybe one of the more valuable ones. There you can see the front, complete with the Lexus logo on the center of the grille. Okay, last three. Here we go. 1934 Chevy Master Coupe or Coupe. Technically both are correct, depending on what side of the ocean you call home. I have a very, very big affinity for pre-war cars. Anything from the 1930s up to the very early 1940s. And this fits the bill perfectly. I love the edges and the designs. And you can see just the circles and the half circles. Just the profile of the cars from the era is just magnificent. And it would be so great if cars, honestly, would go back to that design concept. As for the model, spare tire in the back. The top of it is die-cast. The black parts that you see on the, such as the fender wells and the running board on the side, that's all plastic. But the grille is detailed out, as well as your headlights and the old Chevrolet logo right on the center. Great, great classic Chevrolet. I do think, again, that will be exceptionally popular. Okay. Next up, we have the Mbx Backhoe. Again, probably the most popular color variation of this backhoe that has ever been done, because it has national parks on it. Other decals, I'm holding it up right now, that's why it's not on the table. Number 22, National Parks, US 176 and HP 1000 are all of the decals on here. If you're not familiar, this fantasy vehicle is based on a real-life construction vehicle called a Backhoe Loader. It's called a Backhoe Loader because this back part is called the backhoe and the front part is called a loader. The only thing that's really functional on here is the loader arms being able to go up. You can't tilt the bucket, and you really can't do anything with the backhoe. That is fixed in position. But what I have always liked that Matchbox tried to do here, they couldn't make it look exactly like any OEM. And what I mean by that is they couldn't go to Caterpillar, or they couldn't go to Case, they couldn't go to John Deere and make an exact replica, because they'd have to obtain the license for that particular company to do that, and obviously that would have cost too much money and wouldn't be in the budget. So this is a pretty good example of a fantasy mashup of everything. And I think they did a pretty good job, up to and including a larger rear wheel and a smaller front wheel. I just wish it would have been a little bit more functional. And if you can see here on the front bucket, although it is plastic, if you look on the side, if you know what a 4-in-1 bucket is, you can see this crease right here. So again, it's not functional, but they even went as far as to make it appear as though the front bucket is a 4-in-1 bucket. Again, little details are what I appreciate the most. So, huge fan of this. Okay, last one, guys. Appreciate you sticking with me through this whole video. I hope you guys really enjoy this. There are a lot of people on YouTube that do Matchbox case unboxings and review all of these cars, but I really haven't seen one yet that goes into detail on each and every one of these and gives their personal opinion and maybe gives you some inside and personal connection to these. So I really hope you enjoy the way I do these things. let's end with my favorite, the 1965 Ford C-Series, specifically the C900. This truck was so popular. Ford produced these from the 60s up until 1991. That was the last year that the Ford C-Series was in production. And they made them for everything. Everything from tractors, like the one you see here, to fire trucks, garbage trucks, construction vehicles, everything you can think of. So here it is. It is quite hefty. And it certainly does have some weight to it. The cab is die-cast. The back portion, this is where obviously the fifth wheel would be. You can see it's just a hole. That is plastic. The wheels themselves are red. I like that a lot. This perfectly captures the look of the C-Series Ford. If you've ever seen one in the real world, or maybe you've had the opportunity to own one of these or drive one of these, you will instantly recognize this as a Ford C-Series truck. On top of the casting, you can see the horns and then your running lights, which probably would look even better if you had a paint pen and you maybe brought these out in some fluorescent orange. But as for a new casting for 2021, this was one that I certainly was looking forward to. And while we have it out, as promised, let's see if it will hook up to any Matchbox trailers. Now, this is the Sriracha gasoline trailer that I just happen to have laying over here. Let's see if it will hook up to the fifth wheel and lock in. And I can tell you, this is not going to be big enough. So I can tell you that yes, it does. It does lock in. It doesn't click in, but it certainly seats in the fifth wheel just fine. And you can turn the truck like this. So if you do buy this and you have the intention of putting a trailer behind it from the Convoy line, specifically the new Convoy line by Matchbox, it is perfect to scale and it will work. So that is something that is awesome to see. And again, that was something that was really important to me specifically. It's great to have just the tractor, but to go as far as to make sure that it works with the Convoy line, that opens up endless possibilities for seeing this casting down the road. So that will conclude this review of the 2022 Matchbox B Series or Mix 2 for 2022. Once again, a huge thank you to my friends at jcardiecast.com for hooking me up with this case for media review. And thank you all that have stood through, what are we at, over a half hour of Matchbox content here on Diecast Emporium. Truly appreciate it. Truly hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Make sure you like and subscribe. And until next time, take care, be safe, be well. I'll see you in the next review.